Hello, my name is Emma. I want to share my story. It is about mistakes, pain, and love. It is not easy to tell, but I hope it will help someone. Sometimes, life looks perfect from the outside, but inside things are not the same. My story shows how one mistake can change everything. Please listen carefully and maybe you will learn something too. I am Emma. I am 38 years old. I have two children, Mia and Lucas. Mia is 10 years old and Lucas is 8 years old. They are my world. My husband's name is Daniel. He is 40 years old and we have been married for 15 years. When Daniel and I got married, we were very happy. He was kind and always smiled. He made me feel special. We dreamed about a beautiful life together. We had Mia after 3 years of marriage. She is a sweet and caring girl. She loves to draw pictures and tell funny stories. 2 years later, Lucas was born. He is full of energy and always wants to play. Our life was simple but good. Daniel worked hard at his job. I stayed home to take care of the kids. I cooked, cleaned, and helped them with school. I loved my family very much. After some time, things started to change. Daniel became very busy with work. He came home late and looked tired. At first I thought, this is normal. He is working hard for the family. But as the days passed, I felt sad. He didn't talk to me like before. He didn't laugh or ask how my day was. I tried to make him happy. I cooked his favorite meals. I planned fun weekends for the family. But nothing worked. He just said, I am tired. I started feeling alone even though Daniel was there. I didn't know how to fix it. I kept thinking, maybe tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow was the same. One day I asked Daniel, why don't we talk like before? Are you okay? He just said, I am fine, Emma. Stop asking so many questions. His words hurt me. I didn't feel loved anymore. But I stayed quiet. I thought, I have to be strong for Mia and Lucas. Every day felt the same. I woke up, made breakfast, and got the kids ready for school. I cleaned the house, cooked dinner, and waited for Daniel to come home. When he came home, he would eat quickly and then sit on his phone or go to bed. I wanted to talk to him, but I didn't know what to say. I started to feel like I was invisible. I thought, does he even notice me? Does he still love me? One day I looked in the mirror. I saw a tired woman with sad eyes. I didn't feel like the happy Emma I used to be. I missed laughing. I missed feeling special. But I didn't tell anyone how I felt. I thought, if I tell someone, they will think I am a bad wife. So I kept my feelings inside. Even though I loved my family, my heart felt empty. I needed something, but I didn't know what it was. Then one day something happened. I met someone who made me feel alive again. It wasn't planned. I wasn't looking for it. But this person reminded me of who I used to be. For the first time in years, I smiled. I laughed. I felt seen. But I knew deep in my heart that this was a dangerous path. I thought, What will happen if Daniel finds out? What will happen to my family? And that is where my story truly begins. One sunny afternoon, I was walking to the grocery store. I wasn't feeling happy that day. My thoughts were full of sadness and I felt tired of my life. As I walked, I heard someone call my name. Emma, is that you? I turned around and saw an old friend from college, David. He was smiling warmly and I couldn't help but smile back. We hadn't seen each other in years. David asked, "How are you?" I said, "I'm fine," but I wasn't really fine. We talked for a few minutes and he made me laugh. Felt so good to laugh again. Before he left, David said, "Let's meet for coffee sometime." I said, "Sure," but I didn't think much about it. A few days later, I got a message from David. He invited me for coffee. I was nervous, but I went. I thought, it's just coffee. There's nothing wrong with that. When we met for coffee, we talked about everything. Our old college days, our families, and our lives now. David listened to me like no one had in years. He asked, "How are things with Daniel?" I hesitated but said, "It's he." David looked at me kindly and said, "Emma, you can tell me the truth." For the first time I told someone how lonely I felt. I said, "I love my family, but I feel invisible. I don't know who I am anymore." David didn't judge me. He said, "You deserve to feel loved and happy." His words touched my heart. Over the next few weeks we kept meeting. It wasn't planned, but I found myself looking forward to our talks. David made me feel important. He noticed small things like when I wore a new dress or when I looked tired. I started to laugh again, something I hadn't done in a long time. I felt like myself again. But deep inside I knew this wasn't right. I thought, what if Daniel finds out? What will happen to my family? One day David and I went for a walk in the park. The sun was setting and the air was cool. As we walked, David said, "Emma, I care about you. I think about you all the time." My heart raced. No one had said words like that to me in years. I felt special, but I also felt scared. I said, "David, I don't know what to do. I have a family. I can't hurt them." David looked at me and said, "I don't want to hurt anyone, but I can't pretend I don't care about you." At that moment I felt torn between two worlds. One part of me wanted to run away and forget this ever happened. The other part wanted to stay with someone who made me feel loved. That evening David kissed me. It was a small moment, but it changed everything. I knew I had crossed a line. I went home feeling guilty, but I also felt alive. I thought, I know this is wrong, but I can't stop now. Over the next few weeks, David and I grew closer. We met in secret at quiet cafes, in parks, or just for a quick talk. Every time I was with him, I felt happy and free. I felt like someone cared about me again. But at home I started to feel more guilty. Daniel didn't notice the change in me. He was busy with work like always. I thought, if he loved me, would I feel this way? David never asked me for more than I could give. He said, "I just want you to be happy, Emma." His kindness made it harder to walk away. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I thought about my children, Mia and Lucas. They didn't know anything, but I felt like a bad mother. One day as I sat with David, he asked, "Emma, what do you want? Do you want to stay or do you want to leave?" I didn't know the answer. I felt trapped between my family and my feelings. One evening, I was in the kitchen making dinner. My phone was on the counter and I didn't notice Daniel standing behind me. My phone buzzed and he looked at the screen. It was a message from David. It said, "I can't stop thinking about you." Daniel grabbed my phone and read the messages. His face turned red and his hands were shaking. He looked at me and said, "Who is David? What is this, Emma?" My heart stopped. I didn't know what to say. Tears filled my eyes as I tried to speak, but no words came out. Daniel shouted, "How long has this been going on? Do you even care about us?" I cried and said, "I'm sorry, Daniel. I didn't mean for this to happen." Daniel was furious. He said, "You didn't mean for it to happen? Then why did you keep seeing him?" I had no answer. I felt ashamed, but I also felt angry. I thought, why did it take this for you to notice me? We sat at the dining table that night. The kids were asleep and the house was quiet, but our voices were loud. Daniel said, "How could you do this to me? To our family?" I looked at him and said, "Daniel, I was lonely. I felt invisible. You stopped talking to me, caring about me. I didn't feel loved anymore." He shouted, "I was working hard for this family. Everything I do is for you and the kids." I said, "But I didn't need more money or things. I needed you. I needed your love and attention." We argued for hours. Daniel said, "Do you love him?" I paused. I didn't know how to answer. Finally, I said, "No, I don't. But he made me feel important. He listened to me." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He said, "Emma, I thought we were happy. I thought we were fine." I said, "We were not fine, Daniel. I tried to tell you, but you didn't listen." He put his head in his hands and said, "I don't know if I can forgive this." The next morning the house felt heavy. Daniel didn't speak to me and I avoided his eyes. At breakfast, Mia asked, "Mom, why do you look sad?" Lucas added, "Is everything okay?" I forced a smile and said, "Everything is fine." But nothing was fine. Daniel started coming home late. He didn't say where he was going and I didn't ask. The kids noticed the tension. Mia said, "Mom, why doesn't Dad eat dinner with us anymore?" I felt like I had broken my family. The guilt was overwhelming. Thought, how can I fix this? At night I cried silently. I didn't want the kids to hear. I thought about what I had done and how it had hurt everyone. I spent many nights thinking about my actions. I thought, why did I let this happen? Was it worth it? I realized I had made a terrible mistake. but I also realized how unhappy I had been. I thought, was this only my fault, or did we both fail? I wanted to fix my marriage, but I didn't know if it was possible. I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't live with more lies. A few days after our argument, I decided to talk to Daniel again. I found him sitting in the living room staring at the floor. I sat down next to him and said, "Daniel, we need to talk. I know I hurt you and I'm sorry. I want to fix this, but I can't do it alone." Daniel didn't look at me at first. Then he said, "Emma, how can I trust you again? How do I know this won't happen again?" I said, "I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I'm willing to work for it. I want to be honest with you, and I need you to be honest with me too." We talked for hours. For the first time in years, we both shared our feelings. Daniel told me he had been stressed at work and didn't realize how distant he had become. He said, "I thought I was doing everything right, but I see now that I was wrong." I told him, I wasn't perfect either. I should have spoken up sooner. I should have told you how I felt instead of hiding it. We agreed to try counseling. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. While Daniel and I worked on our marriage, I also worked on myself. I realized I couldn't depend on someone else to make me happy. I had to find happiness within myself. I started reading books about self-love and relationships. One book said, "You can't pour from an empty cup." That sentence stayed with me. I thought, I've been giving so much to others, but I forgot to take care of myself. I began doing things I loved again. I took long walks in the park and joined an art class. I even started journaling, writing down my thoughts and feelings every day. One day I wrote a letter to myself. It said, "Dear Emma, you are strong. You made mistakes, but you are trying to be better. Remember, you deserve love, but you must love yourself first. Keep going and don't give up." I read that letter whenever I felt sad. It reminded me that I was not alone. Months passed and things slowly began to change. Daniel started spending more time at home. He helped with the kids and we went on family outings again. He also made small gestures that meant a lot to me. One evening he surprised me with my favorite flowers. He said, "I know it's just a small thing, but I want you to know I care." I noticed these changes and they gave me hope. But rebuilding trust wasn't easy. Every time his phone buzzed, I felt a pang of doubt. Every time he worked late, I wondered, is he really at work? I also had to face my own guilt. Forgiving myself was just as hard as forgiving Daniel. But I reminded myself, mistakes don't define who you are. What matters is what you do next. One evening, as we sat watching the kids play, Daniel said, "Emma, I'm not perfect, but I want us to be a family. I don't want to lose you." I smiled and said, "I want that too." Our marriage wasn't perfect, but it was real. We were both trying, and that was enough for now. This experience taught me so much about love and life. I learned that love is not just words. It's actions, care, and respect. I learned that mistakes don't mean the end. They can be the start of something new. Most importantly, I learned that I am strong. I can survive pain and sadness, and I can still find happiness. To anyone listening, remember, life is not perfect and neither are people. But with honesty, forgiveness, and love, both for yourself and others, you can find peace. Thank you for listening to my story. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories and lessons. See you next time.